So we have a better picture of the product that your team is creating. I'd like to ask you more about your background. How did you get involved with all this?
Well, I went to San Diego State, graduated in 2009, and my program was International Security and Conflict Resolution. And part of that program was a couple courses about international aid and humanitarian work and stuff like that. Well, you're going to find that a lot of academics are actually pretty cynical about international aid, international development, volunteer tourism, all of this stuff. Because they've seen over and over and over again how these efforts have actually had deep unintended consequences. That pure intentions don't necessarily lead to real impact. And when you look in the industry, you actually see that there's a lot of not so great intentions. So we've got a whole bunch of intentions and levels of competency, and we're causing problems with communities within the regions by some of the ways that this work doesn't go quite as planned. So as I learned about that, right after a semester I went and did a month-long trip through East Africa just with a friend. And so I was there kind of observing what things were like in East Africa and better understanding the people. And I made this intimate relationship with this community out there, and I started to see all the problems that they were experiencing as a result of poverty, the hunger and not having enough money to buy things that they needed, and not having the education they needed to build businesses and stuff like that. And I was stuck in this middle spot where I wanted to help, but I didn't want to follow the path that my professors had told me about, which could cause problems. So I kind of had to ask myself this question, like, is there something that I can do to make a positive impact? And the answer after deep contemplation was not only a yes, but then I kind of felt this obligation that I was going to go out and help to create an organization that would teach people the best ways to go out and do this stuff, because I felt how real that desire to serve people really was and is for millions of other people. And I just want to make sure that they're doing it the best they could. So to fast forward, I came back and a group of friends, we started an organization together, a nonprofit organization. We ran that for several years. In that, we did community development work in Western Kenya. And then about a year ago, we dissolved that organization because we were feeling that the way that we could maximize our impact was actually to create this online education company. And that's what's going on right now.
What has been your biggest challenges so far?
Well, the organization we were running before was a nonprofit, and we had a big volunteer base, and we kind of built that organization out. As we better understood the social business model, we decided that that was the model that we want to take the next iteration of the organization. So that shifted a lot of things, and we basically let our interns go and our volunteers go, and I had a lot of legwork that I had to do to understand how to bring this all into fruition. So I had to learn video editing and WordPress web development and the creation of curriculum material and online marketing, all these different pieces that you have to put together to build an online education company. So really just hitting all of these learning curves and trying to figure out a lot of this stuff, and not having, a big investor to so that I could hire a bunch of people, but I just pretty much had to do a lot of the stuff on my own. So the last year's been a long road, and I've been putting in 40 to 60 hour weeks unpaid working on this project for about 16 months now.
Wow. Have you had to make personal sacrifices to get to this point?
You might say. Tell you a little bit more about my personal situation. When I decided that this education company was something that was really important to create, I was able to get a little bit of investment capital to support me personally and some of the aspects of this project. So in order to allow that to go as far as possible, I actually moved out of the house that I was living in so I wouldn't have rent, and I literally lived out of my car, been couch surfing. I've been showering in cold public showers. I've had to bring all of my expenses down to the bare minimum so that I could be working from libraries and coffee shops around the clock to be able to set up this whole education company. So yeah, it's been really humbling, and it's been a pretty hard journey in that regard. But I'm 100% confident that every sacrifice was completely worth it. And I'm so stoked because we're getting so close to launching this education company, which will then be able to start to generate revenue. We'll be able to operate a little bit more like an established organization, and that will shift a lot of those other things I just mentioned. So it's been a journey.